Hello everybody, my name is Molly Hollabaugh. Welcome to the Zentangle Project Pack video series. This tutorial is part of the Project Pack number 3, and this particular project pack focuses on one project that we're going to do all these sort of mini tutorials that will sort of contribute to the same finished product. So you should have done the sort of prep video that we had for this project pack, and now you should be ready to go to get started with your tangling. So I have my tiles all set to go here, and I'm going to show you guys a fragment that I'm going to use as a border. I'm going to show you guys one trick before we get started that you can do with your string just to sort of play with this whole ribbon effect. So this is sort of optional, but I like to show people just because it's fun. Your string is fine the way it is, but if you really want to play with that sort of ribbon effect, you may go back into your loops and sort of add a sort of curved line that sort of finishes this line right here. So I like to go back in and sort of do this. And then when I go do this section, I'll sort of ignore that one. And that really makes my ribbon look like it's folding. So again, so like right here, see how these sort of create like a twist? I like to go back in, sort of finish that line. And then when I go to do this ribbon, I'll probably fill in that space right there. And it kind of looks like it's folding. So it's kind of optional, but you may go around and do that to all of yours so you get this kind of like real sort of under and over effect. So just a little trick. Okay, so now that you have all your ribbons in line here, we're going to choose a section and I'm going to show you a cool fragment that we can use as a border. So I think I'm going to play with this section right here, pretty easy to see. And I am going to get started with breaking down my section into squares. So instead of just using a single line to break down my section, I'm going to put a double line and it'll just create a different effect. I'm going to be working within this section right here. So I'm going to create these sort of little pillar or double lines that sort of break up my band into these kind of square shapes. And you may notice a little detail I like to play with, and that's I'm sort of flaring my edges. It's ever so subtle, but it really adds to the final look of the border. So I'm going to go and do that all the way down my border. So I'm actually going to give you a little bit of a closer look here so you can see what these pillars look like, and I'm going to show you a little detail I'm going to add before I start filling in my spaces. So as we talked about before, I sort of like to flare my edges a little bit, and to me it just adds a little bit more interest. And I'm going to do this little trick here. I'm going to cap them off with a little slight curve, just very subtle. And to me it looks like they're sort of wrapping around. And again, these are all just little details, but in the end, it kind of adds to the overall, and it, to me, is kind of fun little things you can do to make it look a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and do that all the way down the border. All right, so now that we have our space divided up into these sections, I can start filling them. And for this particular fragment, I'm going to start in the middle so that you guys can see the bigger space as I'm demoing. It's up to you how you want to, if you want to go in a line, that's fine with me. It does mirror the fragments I'm going to do, so you want to just make sure that whatever direction you go, you sort of always look at the one next to it before you jump into the next step. So here's how it starts. I'm going to begin with a diagonal line. And again, I like to make a subtle curve. I think it's kind of a little bit interesting. And I'm just going to aura that diagonal line all the way down to one corner, like so. And now on the next one, I'm going to do the diagonal going in the opposite direction. And again, I'm going to aura it all the way down to one corner. I'm going to continue to go back and forth and then auraing down to one corner. So if you want to go ahead and try to do that on yours, remembering to alternate back and forth, always auraing down to the bottom corner. All right, so hopefully everybody has that step done. So what you should have is sort of these sort of triangular shapes that have sort of appeared by mirroring that fragment. So now we're going to go back in, and what I like to do is have you just isolate one space and not look at the rest while we're figuring out what's the next step. So by just looking at this one square, right in the center of that sort of dividing diagonal line, I'm going to basically do a little crescent moon here. I'm going to do one sort of ladybug shape right in the middle. I'm going to fill it in with ink. And then ever so carefully, I'm going to aura that until I get to the other side. Just like so. So once you finish one space, find the one right next to it to do exactly the same thing with. Again, it's a ladybug shape in the middle. Ever so carefully ink in that shape. And then just take your time till you get to the rest. Okay? So you can go ahead and fill all your spaces just like so. All right, so I got them all filled in. It may look like a complex pattern, but if you take it slow and sort of fill them one at a time, you can really break it down into individual steps. And in the end, you get this kind of cool result. That's my fragment. We are going to specifically not shade these until the very, very end. So I'm gonna have you hold your pencils and tortillons until the very end when you have all of your borders in. So that's it for now, everybody. Thanks so much, and we'll see you soon.